So I'm Bob Nolan. This is my son Samuel Nolan. Deer Run Farms is the name of our farm. We're here in Brookhaven, New York on Long Island, about 60 miles east of New York City. We grow about 25 different crops. It's a small vegetable farm, 30 acres, and we'll show you around what we grow. All right, so this is kale we transplanted. It was, when did we transplant it? The 15th of September? This is our last kale. Like I said, this is abnormally warm. Usually, you know, you've had frost already at times and stuff like that, but this stuff is just growing. It's beautiful weather. It's got nice, long, cool nights and sunny days, which the stuff I grow really grows good in those conditions. So. You know, so we got leeks and kale, we got some parsley down there. We can take a walk. We'll take a walk around. This is spinach. Spinach is a cool weather crop. It's hard to, had trouble seeding it in August with all the rain and then the heat. And, you know, it's just now becoming really nice at this point. Early, a lot of it got sick because of the heavy rain. And, but now we're in a nice couple pieces here. Two different varieties. I missed the boat on this one. You know, sometimes you don't do things perfect. This is a very slow growing variety. The other one, we had seed from the other variety, but it was either old or it was too big and didn't drop enough, so we had issues with it. And I'm thinking this looked good in the late spring for disease and everything else. I said, look, let's just put this in. I'll try to get some more of the other one. So I got the other one untreated, and it just grows like crazy.
They're already harvesting it, and this is, you know, wow.
Blew right by this one. So those are, you know, all the things, different varieties. You know, it's not like you just take a bag of spinach seed and put it in the ground. There's all different kinds of varieties. They're curly. Some are greener. Some are grow taller for bunching. This particular one tends to be a little too flat for bunching. You want a little more upright, so when you cut it, you just put a rubber band on it, and that's what that other variety does. So we can keep walking. We can go down by the kale there if you want, and we'll show you the parsley. This woods over here is protected. The county owns it, so there'll be no houses here, so we can continue to farm without neighbors. Not that we don't like people, but when it comes to farming, hey, you're making dust, I'm having a barbecue today, you know, stuff like that. So it's just better to not have neighbors on a farm, you know. People we know, the people over there have been there for years. They understand the farming operation. The irrigation motors run until 10 o'clock, or we start at 5 in the morning, and neighbors have been great. No complaints about them. So we have cover crop planted here because, you know, we don't want the farm blowing away in the wintertime. Speaking of the Dust Bowl. But we don't like big cover crop because the little stuff, the little seeded stuff in the spring, you have all that trash, and then it doesn't cover, and then it starts growing up through, and you know, you try to cultivate it, but still it's not the same. So this is our last parsley for the year.
This was a sunflower field before.
That was a sunflower field, so there's a little carryover.
Earlier this year.
But you know, a lot of the parsley now goes into the city to Fresh Direct. Fresh Direct is a home delivery company. They'll buy from us, have a new warehouse in the Bronx, and they have trucks that make deliveries to homes. It's an online thing. You order online. If you order at night, you'll have it by noon the next day. You order at noon, you'll have it the following, you know, night, something like that. So very much into local food for the people, you know, and high quality. So the irrigation pipe, nah, it's just that I've been updating it constantly because we've gone to the solid set here, so we needed more pipe for the solid set, you know, and that's why just before the pandemic he was after me to buy, we need more pipe, we need more pipe, we need more pipe. So didn't really want to do it, but I bought 100 links and we finally got it and set it up, and it just worked beautiful every 7 beds. So a couple of my other friends tried to do it, and the price almost doubled the amount of for the pipe that I got. So we got in just at the right time. But this kind of stuff needs not a lot of water, but frequent watering to get it to grow correctly. And I'd rather have it dry all year than have the rain come in, because you have nothing but trouble with disease and everything else, and we're able to water here. So it's nice, yeah, if I can order an inch of rain, yeah, it's beautiful, but it doesn't happen like that. You want an inch, you get 4 inches, you know. So irrigation, very important, and we're lucky here on Long Island. Like I said, plenty of water underneath in the aquifer there. Obviously, you see the deer fence. We've had there's a lot of deer problems here.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, he talked about one of the struggles on Long Island are the deer, but most vegetable farmers have had to put up a deer fence. This was put up in 2004 because I remember before that I have a beautiful field of lettuce here, and the deer would come in and eat, and then the next night they'd just continue where they left off instead of, you know, they just take one bite out of each head and ruin everything. We grow 2 types of beets. We got the red ones and the gold ones. We decided to start growing the gold ones because some people asked us, and it's a nice change, you know, it's something different. People like it. So we can take a look at them on the trailer here. So these are some of our red ones. I got 2 different varieties. I don't, you know, they're kind of mixed together, but I always try to grow more than one variety, because inevitably something happens with one variety, you got the other one to back you up. So you're not out of it, and I have a constant supply for my customers. So we grow 2 or 3. We've been playing around with a couple different varieties to get to ones that we're comfortable with, that don't crack, they don't have any disease on the bottom. And then the gold ones, there's only 2 varieties that I know of gold beets. So, but some people love them, and people love the tops too. They just eat the tops as well as the bottoms, you know. So we've been very lucky. This is perfect weather for growing beets and stuff like that. In the summertime, it's a little more challenging. If you get a lot of moisture at one time, the beets grow a lot fast, and then they'll crack, and then disease will get in after it. Here, it tends to grow a little slower, a little more steady. You don't tend to get the cracking and get the disease. So we're on the other side of the farm now. It's 30 acres. This would be further east. Different portion, obviously. We grow different crops in different locations. We try to rotate them around. So now we're over here. We have the carrots and the cabbage, and my guys are bunching carrots here for the farm stands that'll be coming to pick up here shortly. And actually, some of these will be going to New York City too, the Fresh Direct. I don't tend to bunch carrots for Hunts Point because that's just a volume thing, and you look at the amount of time it takes to you know, do it and do it correctly.
Does it?
And these also will have to be
double
bunched. I mean, excuse me, will have to be washed
Okay.
after they bunch it. But it's high quality product, and people will pay for that. But there's a limited market for the, you know, the higher price. And I'm small enough, and that's kind of how it works for us, kind of a niche farmer, where I'm small enough to get a higher price for what we grow.
But it's also say everything's cut the same day. You order at night, you come next morning, nothing's bunched, you know, 2 days ahead, 3 days ahead. Everything's day of, to keep it the freshest that we could possibly make it.
And also the fertility program, which I won't reveal, allows our produce to last a lot longer. You know, people take a head of lettuce, put it in the you know, wash it and put it in the refrigerator. It'll last a week, or at least a week, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. And that's based on the fertility that we use here to make the plant cells strong. So we've been lucky with that. So this is a piece of carrot, you know, one of the last seedings of carrots here. And actually, I'm going to take you over there where the spinach is, because they got a different varieties. We talked about you just don't put spinach seed. We can walk over there if you like, and I'll show you the spinach, and then we can look at the cabbage after. I'm always trying to find new varieties or something that'll fit a certain slot. And spinach is one of the things where it can be a wide range. Where lettuce, you know, there's a red leaf lettuce we've been planting for 40 years. There's not much variation in that. Sometimes for stalking or for tip burn purposes, there's a few others. You know, I tried a few this year. You know, there might be a little hope for a few of them. But spinach, you know, the color, the texture, you know, how it grows up or down. So I got a bunch of different ones here. It's very interesting to look at all the difference. And I did that to figure out, all right, next year, which one do I want to grow this time of year? So we can pick one out and grow it and figure it out. And because it's warm, everything is pushed ahead a little bit. But my thought is, and it's probably going to happen, when November comes, the bottom's going to drop out. It's going to go down to 20 or 22 or something like that because of the averages. The weather always averages out, and we're above average now, and that's how it's been the last 4 or 5 falls. It's been warmer than normal, then November comes, and so I think I have, let's see, 3, 6, 7, 8, I think I got like 12 different varieties here. And if you just look at it, you can see the difference. Different colors, different texture. Some are flatter, some are not. Some grow slower. We're lucky because this was perfect growing conditions. I seeded it the beginning of September, and literally we did not have any heavy rains or anything like that. So this has had perfect growing conditions. And you can see the different varieties, what we have here. Historically, you want one that grows fast. You don't want one that grows slow, especially for the fall. This one that grows slow is better for like June when it's being pushed so heavily. It won't tend to make a seed stalk, and you can hold it a little bit longer. But for the fall, I wouldn't plant this one anymore. I'd go with a couple of these other ones that look really, really good.
This is the lettuce patch we're harvesting currently. We grow, 8, 9, 10 varieties at a given time. Some varieties don't grow very well in the summer, so the spring and fall exclusively. We have our green Bostons, our red Bostons, our romaine here. We have different varieties that have different characteristics. So, like this one will hold better in the cold, so we're going to cut that one last in case we get some frost. We're going to cut out the summer one that we've planted that grows faster. We have our red leaves here. We have some super slow growing romaine that we're going to cut last. And then we get into our specialty lettuces. This is really nice dark Batavian lettuce that we grow. This is a spring and fall variety. It tips and shoots like halfway grown. It does not like the heat. Then we have the iceberg lettuce. That's the staple of what everyone pretty much thinks of as lettuce, but the varieties around here, they don't like the humidity, so you almost cannot grow iceberg in the summer. In Arizona, they have all these varieties that are bred for those conditions, and we've gotten our hands on some of those, and they just do not work on this climate. We have Oakley lettuce. We have green. We used to grow red, but it's not really. It shoots also. It's not. You have to cut it with a very small window. Then you have our green Batavians. You have French iceberg is another favorite of people. So it's like a iceberg type, but it's nice and red. Escarole, a lot of Italian people like to eat escarole. And then the green leaf lettuce. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 varieties. And we succession plant, so in the summer, every 5 days you plant it, so you have it at the right size, the right quality. It's not too, because when it gets old, it doesn't taste too good. And you can't cut it young, because then the box isn't full, so try to get all these things, in succession. This is every 5 days, the herbs are every 3 days, this is every 7 days. The carrots are every 9 days, it's a logistical challenge, but we manage. I have some celery. We try to plant all of our celery together because it takes the longest, and for taking care of it, spraying, fertilizing, whatever. But I ran out of ground over there where the majority of it is, and then it's like, well, it's the end of the year, might as well just see how it goes. And this variety is a new one, and it actually is much better disease package than the one we were growing. So it was like a hidden surprise, like, oh wow. So I think next year we're going to be growing this one exclusively. And then our parsley, we were trying it out where we would just plant it and then cut it and grow it again. We'd have a block of it. So like you'd have 5 weeks worth of parsley, and then as you finish the 5th week, the one would regrow again. But with weeds in the summer, you can't stay on top of it. So we just plant it every week. But in the fall, when we don't need the ground again, we let it grow. So this will be the 3rd cutting of parsley. So for cover crop purposes, it's kind of annoying. You can see over there's another one. You gotta stagger. It'd be nice to have just a nice chunk, but we'll get extra, a couple hundred boxes out of these free it's like a free gift here. So.
I only grow cabbage in the fall now because of maggot problems. It's a real problem. You can't really grow it. Maggots historically are worse in the spring. And one of the things I didn't realize until you get older, you get wiser, we'd start a seed bed in March. So you have a food source for them right away. As soon as they wake up from the wintertime, boom, right into the seed bed. And then they multiply. And we just did this every year, and the populations got so high. So then we tried to get transplants where I didn't have a seed bed. There was no source early, but yet we were still planting in April. So the source was out in the field, not necessarily the seed bed, but still it was too early and too much. There were too many had developed, and over the years the population had got to be too many, so we had to back away, and I started planting them later and later and later. And cabbage is more of a fall crop anyway, so it seems to have worked out for us. The maggot pressure is down now because I plant this beginning of August. At that point, the maggots are mostly gone at that point. And like I said, it's a cool weather crop. If you get bad weather, cabbage can weather bad weather than lettuce. Lettuce will get destroyed if you have a hurricane. Cabbage, you can still harvest it. It's almost indestructible, really. So we got a couple different varieties here. And if you want to take a look at it, this is a variety we've grown forever. I really like it. I grew this other variety just to try it. You read the seed catalog, hey, it looks great. It's got this disease package or that, and at the end of the day, the standard one, there's no comparison. This is my favorite. And I'm actually glad I grew cabbage. Like I said, we grow so many different crops, but being I grew it every year of my life, I figured let's not miss a year, and I'll put some in this fall, and it turns out to be very, very nice. So that house there used to be where that White House is here. This little one was a workshop. It was moved from over there, but that house there was at the end of the road here. And the story is that George Washington, when he was coming through, actually stayed in that house when it was up there back in 1776 or something. So when new owner came, he wanted to be closer. There's a river right behind here, so he wanted to have the house down by the river, so they moved it down there. But that's like circa 1750 was probably built. So what we have here is we obviously grow spinach here. We grow it in the spring, we grow it in the fall. We also grow it in the winter. It's called wintered over spinach. And you can see over here, this is the first seeding. It's a little bit bigger. This is the last seeding. It's a little bit smaller. And what we do is we plant this, around the 20th of September we start. And it'll grow, and as long as the average temperature is above 40 degrees, it keeps growing. So it'll grow maybe half size. Goes below 40 during the wintertime, it stops growing. And then in the spring, when the average temperature is above 40, it starts growing again. So it's called wintered over spinach. The cold doesn't kill it. I mean, occasionally if you get severe cold and it freezes and thaws and freezes and thaws and the ground heaves, it will die at that point, but that's rare that that's ever happened. I also like to put it in protected areas here. You see, we have woods all around us here, so it tends to be protected. So if it gets really windy in the wintertime and the dust starts blowing and everything else, it's kind of protected here. So this will be my first crop in the spring, which helps. There's no money coming in the wintertime, and this will be the first one, so that's some cash flow early in, let's say, the end of April. So I hope you folks appreciated the tour today at Deer Run Farms. We love what we do. We love growing high quality vegetables and produce, and we enjoy being outdoors. We enjoy working with other farmers. And the last thing I'll say is please visit your local farmers, because you patronizing them will keep them in business. And if you like what you see today, visit a local farm. Thank you very much.